You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Look, I don't know about where you are, but here where I am, it's 21 degrees. It's snowing and raining outside. And I'll be honest, I just want to watch a movie and lay in bed. But instead I had to read comic books to talk to you guys about, and most of those comic books made me want to watch a movie and lay in bed. So this is In Stores This Week, where we talk about books that are in stores this week. I've had a hell of a day and have a headache. Dan is crocheting. Jay and Sean are happy to be here. But this could get real dark real fast. Especially because there's a lot of Cullen Bunn books. We'll be right back. What's up, the internet? It's producer Kyle. How's it going?
It's 66 and clear here.
We've now bifurcated the screen, by the way, based on facial hair configuration. The people with the better facial hair are on the same side as me, and the people with the worst facial hair are on the same side as Jay. That's how we decided to break this up.
That's fair. That's fair.
So
I'm trying to think. It's 47 and cloudy outside here.
Yeah, no, going outside just makes me want to, what's something for? Commit Harry Carey.
Jeez. I mean, I hate the cold, but damn.
Well,
You want to talk like this, is what you're saying?
Yes. I want to own a slightly awful bar and grill in Chicago. No, the reality of it is it's that kind of cold where it's like it's not cold yet. It's still warm because the humidity is still high. So it feels like it's about 40, but it's actually 21. So you go outside and it snows and sticks to you, but you're like, it's entirely too warm for it to stick to you. It's just bad.
You know,
All right.
I never realized that the Harry Carey voice is just a less nasally voice version of Fred from the B-52s.
Yeah, I could hear that. Mm-hmm.
The Cubbies here, Rock Lobster.
There's a guy on TikTok who's doing if modern pop songs were done by the B-52s.
Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
And I love it, but also I hate it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like most Taylor Swift songs would be better if it were sung by Fred from the B-52s. Hello, I'm the problem. It's me.
Wow.
So,
That's amazing.
All right, let's talk about
Shake it off.
right. All right, let's talk about the comics. And
I always do Bob Dylan version of everything.
oh yeah, it's just kind of like
Shake it off.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
My thing is if William Shatner had sung it.
Mm.
So it's 3-word phrases with really long tails. Yeah.
Yeah, the songs would take longer.
Right. So, all right.
William Shatner sings Supper Readies by Genesis. That'd be an hour and a half.
True. Imagine if he had to sing Alice's Restaurant.
Oh,
You can get everything you want at Alice's Restaurant.
Yeah. Okay.
okay.
Speaking of Alice's Restaurant, Something is Killing the Children 26.
It's a film.
I know Sean loves this series. I'm over Tinian. I think I'm done with Tinian as a whole.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I've been kind of waiting for the series to kind of capture the magic it had for the first 15 issues. I'm a few issues behind on what's going on currently. So coming into this one, I was slightly blind, but I'm not getting the same vibe that I did through that entire first big arc that they did. And then from 16 on, I've been kind of a little bored. I mean, the history of Eric is kind of cool, but at the same time, I'm still kind of waiting for the story to really go somewhere again. And this issue, I guess it has. Like I said, I'm still a few issues behind, but I don't know. I may stop having this one on my pull list if I haven't already. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
See, ironically, I haven't read the first 15 issues. I came in recently, and I'm actually enjoying this, and I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it. I can't say, oh, I like this, I like that. But it was actually a nice quick read, and I'm curious who Cutter is and what's going to happen. And I like the characters, and yeah, I'm actually enjoying it, which means I should probably go back and read the earlier ones if they're better.
I'm in the same boat with Dan on that. We both came in kind of on the same issue on this show, and don't get me wrong, I really do. I really like this, and I like where it's going. But it's been a while since we read the last issue, so
it does seem like it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely went on.
Yeah, I can't remember what really happened last issue, but I mean, I did like this. Now, do I understand why this book is so popular? Yeah, I get it. It's a really good story from what I've read. Like, this does make me want to go back. You know, if I like Dan said, I like this that much. If what Sean's saying is, you know, the first 15 issues are like the magic, I really want to go back and read that now. Now, do I think this is on like an Invincible or a Saga level of greatness? No, I don't think that. Those are two of my favorite books. But again, you know, I haven't read the first 20 some odd issues, so maybe it is on that level. I just, you know, I don't know.
I am curious, how does he get away with every issue taking and doing a 2-page spread of the frickin' title? That is pretentious as all damn hell.
Yeah, it's been like that.
Killing the children. Yeah, we know it's the title in the book.
Well, I
It's the
mean,
largest thing on the cover. We don't need a 2-page spread of it.
they're doing a 2-page spread, and the font's still only at 12 point. I mean, it's that long of a cover, or long of a title.
Yeah.
But no, here's my thing with this book, right? And I think Sean and I are kind of in the same page. I didn't read the first 15 issues as they came out, but I read the first trade kind of right away. And for me, it's like when you watch a television series where they change showrunners after the first season or after the first 2 seasons, and the show kind of loses what made it great. I feel like Tinian got so busy after the first quarter of this series that they maybe should have just put it down. Right? Do the first 15, maybe 20, and call it a day. And if you want to come back to it later, come back to it. But it's like we're continuing the series because it's popular, not because it's good anymore.
I think I'm ready to do a parody series on it called Somebody's Using All the Scrabble Tiles.
Right? Dan, I told you that I swallowed a bunch of Scrabble tiles, right?
No.
My next bowel movement could spell disaster.
That's a really old joke.
Oh,
I know.
my goodness.
It's one of the great ones. But yeah, so for me, Something is Killing the Children has everything it needs to be great. It just isn't anymore.
It's almost like once House of Slaughter started coming out, this series seemed to get affected by how bad House of Slaughter is.
See, and I like House of Slaughter too. It's just, it's like they're not it's like they're not connecting, right? It's like they're coming real close, but they're just not connecting. So, what up, Cool Gamer? I think I said hi to Ed and John and everybody in the comments. Say hi when you get here. We're gonna move on to Beatrix Rose number 5. This is the cover of Beatrix Rose number 4, and I'm gonna say something that's almost a little bit incendiary. If the publisher and the people who are making the books can't get the covers to the website we use by the time the book comes out, maybe that's an indication as to how good the book is. Never have they had the cover uploaded to the website we use for every other cover on time. Just throwing it out there.
So
I put this on the list today because it's the end.
Thank God.
this was really the end of the run?
Sure looks like it.
Okay. Well, this was my first time reading anything. And like the art and the action scenes weren't bad, but I guess not having read the first 4 issues, I'm really quite lost as to what the main part of the story was.
We've read the first 4 issues and we're lost on what the main story was.
Yeah, it's like I honestly in this issue until I thought the little ninja girl was the main character until Beatrix showed up, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I mean, other than the nice little brutal scene with, I guess, the mob boss is what we'll call him, in his family's house, I was like, this was a lot of meh for me. It's basically how I felt about it. I'm wondering if the rest of the series is even worth going back and reading now based on everybody's reactions.
I thought the first issue or 2 were like meh, and then somewhere in the middle there was like a spark of, wait, maybe they're doing something interesting, but then they snuffed it out, pretty damn well. So,
Yes, Dan is making a scarf. Why is he making a scarf living in California? He's a hipster and didn't want anybody to know.
because Christmas is coming.
If I'm Mark Dawson, I may be asked to have my name removed from this. If I'm Stephanie Phillips, I go, well, I did it for the money. Well, everything about this was a mistake. There was 6 panels in issue 3 or issue 4 that were solid. They were like, okay, here we go. And then just, nope, not at all. And I keep saying this every time we read this book. In a world where the last arc of Jennifer Blood existed, in a world where like the Annie Mia
Betty
Page exists, where we have great female-led sort of spy thrillers.
This one seems a bit lost.
This is not what it should be.
Alan Smith, he's Beatrix Rose.
Right. It's John, we're sorry. Like I said, it just never got into gear, and I don't know that it ever should have. So,
this book I wasn't a fan of, except for maybe a couple pages, just like y'all. And even without Sean telling me the shocking moment that he did, I wasn't shocked when it happened. I didn't really care a whole lot when it happened. It wasn't exciting. The book itself wasn't as exciting as it could have been. And there's just something about books like this that feels so cookie cutter, like right down to the art. It just feels like, just like you said, me not really knowing anything about Jennifer Blood, but us reading that series, I'm like, that blows this out of the water. So, this could have been something, but it just fizzled for me too.
It could have been a contender instead of the pretender.
Yeah. All right. So I know Jay has already told me that he has emotional connection with this. So I'm going to say my thing, and then I will move out of the way.
Okay.
In that I've never liked the comic book series, but I love the television program. That said, I think this book did a decent job of trying to capture what makes the show good. And I don't know, conversely, if it's the show is doing a good job of capturing what the comic book does, because I've just never really liked the comic book. So if you read it all with Alan Tudyk's voice in your head, I think it helps. Is my whole takeaway for this.
By the way, the show going into its third season just had the third season order cut from 12 to 8 episodes.
Oh, it's a shame. I'm gonna go last on this one, so y'all go ahead.
Okay, so I know nothing of the show or the comic books. This book for me was a complete snooze fest. I was bored. So I don't really know what the TV show is like. Knowing that Alan Tudyk is in it, I'm sure that means it's actually probably pretty decent. But comic wise, honestly, if I don't finish the rest of the series, I'll be okay. But if you are a fan of the show and what makes it good, I think that this will probably be something that you would want to read. So if you're a fan of the TV show, definitely check it out. But if you're someone like me who's coming into it blind, it may not be something that hooks you into wanting to read the other comics.
What up, Kenneth?
I was very confused by this because I've watched the show. Lisa's a big fan of it, so I've seen quite a few episodes. And there were some things that were very different than the series, like the fact that he looks like an alien. Where I thought everybody looked at him and he looked human, he can. The one kid saw him as an alien, but I don't get it now. So I don't know if the town sees him as an alien or if the town. I was confused, but I thought the actual issue was pretty cool. And if I maybe read the earlier episode issues, I'd understand it. So I enjoyed it, but again, having seen the series, I felt very confused by it. Take it away, Jay.
All right, so not to bring it down too much, and I won't harp on this for too long. My dad was a fan of the show, and he passed 2 weeks after the season finale of the first season. And even before then, he had texted me and he was like, "Hey, can you go to the house and set the DVR? It's the final episode. I don't want to miss it." So my dad never got to finish the season. So when I started reading this, I was very biased towards it. Now I also understand that this is not actually like the first part of the story. This is like what, 4 or 5 books in or something like that.
Yeah, I think this is the 7th chapter.
Yeah. So see, I read it with a very big bias because it's a lot of sentimental value. Because like I said, my dad wasn't like the biggest comic book fan or anything, but the 3 things he loved was Thor, Deadpool, and this show. So I can't give y'all like a real honest opinion of the book because it's too much sentimentality there. But
dang it, Jay, now I'm going to have to go cry after we get off the show.
Not to bring it down. Not to bring it down.
I get you, man. I get you. I love your dad. You know that.
All right.
Yeah.
Young Hellboy, Assault on Castle Death, number 3.
So, luckily, it was nice to read a non-issue 1 of the Hellboy comic. Even though I haven't read any of this series, but this was fun. I honestly haven't read a bad Hellboy yet, personally. They all just seem to have this nice little the darkness, but there's the humor mixed in, so I get a little bit of both worlds, and I like that when I can get multiple things from a comic, and this was no different. I do want to go back and read 1 and 2 so that I know what had happened and why he's quote unquote sick in this issue, so that I can better understand more of where the narrative's actually going.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
I love Lobster Johnson, so anytime we get a Lobster Johnson in a book, I am all for it. This has just been fun. I like the art. I like the story. I love young Hellboy. I mean, there's been some other appearances of him, the whole pancakes thing, and I love exploring his relationship with Professor Broom. So for me, this is just great stuff. So to see him, we know it's a uh, fever haze or whatever you want to call it, but it still is a lot of fun. And the fact that you've got this serious story taking place in the middle of it, you're trying to figure out what this cultist is doing. This is one of my favorite things coming out from Dark Horse right now.
Same. Never upset when there's Hellboy on the list. So it's been just a little bit since we read it, and I almost forgot about him being sick until they kind of showed us that this fever dream or this hallucination he's having while he has this fever, actual events are going on around him.
Yeah.
Like he's being attacked, but he sees it as like ghosts or bones or whatever, bone people. I don't know what you call it. But, things are really happening around him. It's just his fever is making him see Lobster Johnson, and he's like in superhero getup. I think they called him the Scarlet Crab.
Yeah.
What they called him.
That added to the humor.
This is a fun book. The Young Hellboy books are fun. So I ain't mad if we read this whole series. And there's only one left. So hopefully they do more after this, honestly.
Yeah, I'm with Dan. Like, I'm a Lobster Johnson fan. This is one of those books that for me could have benefited from a half page of Previously On. Where just a little reminder of, oh, hey, he's sick, remember? Would have been nice. And what is the other one? Castle Full of Blackbirds or the other, huh?
Yeah, I think it's Castle Full of Blackbirds.
Yeah. There's such other interesting books happening in the Hellboy universe that I had not forgotten about this one, but had conglomerated several of them in my mind.
Yeah.
And so it took me a few pages to remember this one.
Yeah.
But then Lobster Johnson, always kind of finds a way through. So, that to me was great. Super fun little mini series. And like I said, the only nitpick I have, Mike Mignola, Tom Snagowski crushed it. Is that I would have loved like a half page. Just give me these are the things you've forgotten because it's been a month. Kind of thing.
Last time on Hellboy.
Yeah.
Right. Previously on Hellboy. They did a Frankenstein book from the pages of Hellboy. Which I feel like it's been a couple of months since we had this book.
Yeah, I think so.
And that did not do it any favors. Took me a real long time to remember who the frog guys were and why I cared. But when it all kind of came rushing back, I think this was a really good installment in this miniseries. I thought the Frankenstein character was a lot of fun in this issue.
What we're learning here is this has all been a long setup that Kyle's become a spokesman for Prevagen, and starting next week, his memory is going to be a lot better as he hypes the new Prevagen content.
Actually, Dan, I'm aiming for a Ginkgo biloba sponsorship.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is another one of those where I'm coming in on issue 3, so I haven't read the first couple of issues. So I feel like there is a good amount of story that I'm missing as to why I should care about the characters that are in the book. So I had a hard time trying to get a connection with them. That said, though, it was visually, for me at least, very, very appealing to look at. It's an interesting take on Frankenstein for me. I'm used to your old traditional stuff. So seeing this version of him where he's kind of a peaceful person was pretty cool. And I can't remember the line, but I'm sure Jay will say it in his, but he had a really, really good one-liner in this book that kind of really fit it for me. But so, I mean, if you guys can tell me, is 1 and 2 worth going back to check out so that I can kind of connect the dots with issue 3
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think they are. Yeah. So
Yeah. I just was going to say that was the other thing that I was thinking when I was reading this book.
Mhm.
You know, Dan leaves the previous issues on the server for a while, but this is one of those where if we'd have had the other two, I'd have gone back and read them before I read this one, and I think it would have helped my influence of this one.
I don't know. I remember this one pretty well, and I thought it was a pretty good issue. I felt like it finally was moving the story forward, though I have to admit I don't know what the story is. And I don't mean it from the point of view of, I don't know what's going on. It just seems like we're setting up this new world, but we're doing like this little story in it. The actual events don't seem to match up to the scope of the story at this point. We're 3 issues in, and the big thing we're dealing with is a rival tribe. There's no big bad. There's no anything like that. It's just this little story. So it's been pretty interesting, but I feel like we're not getting anywhere with this yet. So I'm kind of curious where they're going. Is this another 4-issue miniseries, or are we with Frankenstein for a while? Because if we are, it's just a slow buildup. Okay, but if we're getting to something, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. See, and now that you said that reminds me of the beginning where they're talking about this, what do they call it, Merc? And then you just completely go away from that into something else. So I was wondering, I was like, what was the purpose of those few pages as well?
Yeah.
So there are only 4 issues solicited, but nowhere on the solicit for issue 4 does it say it's the last issue.
Okay, that's good. Need more stories set in the Hellboy universe that don't even have to have Hellboy in them. Like, I love the Hellboy stuff that we've read so far, but the fact that I can enjoy this, knowing that it's set in the Hellboy universe, but no Hellboy in it at all, kind of says something to me at least. I actually kind of remember the last issue we read. So it's crazy to me that I can, bits and pieces of it at least. But I mean, I care about these characters. I mean, and I include the frog people in that. I really like them. I think her name is Lilja. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that's kind of how it's spelled to me. Frankenstein. I think they're all really, really good characters. And in this one, and this is what Sean was talking about, Frankenstein has got to have one of the coolest lines to me in this book. And I'm going to paraphrase it, but he basically says, if violence is your language, I'm fluent in it.
Yes.
And I was like, what a boss.
That's
what
a badass line.
Yes, what a boss. I thoroughly enjoy this book, and I can't wait for the next chapter of it.
We need to hashtag that on a shirt. You're welcome, Dark Horse.
Yeah, like I could get that tattooed somewhere. Like, I love it.
Well, I do find it interesting that this book is written by Mignola, Golden, and Snigosky.
Right.
You don't normally see 3 writers on a single book.
It's true. All right. So before we go on, I want to just take a minute. Normally we get this week, for whatever reason, we didn't get books from Dynamite, but I wanted to point out 2 books that would have been in our reading this week, certainly, that we've all been really high on, or been really high on, that we've been very much enjoying and referencing, that are out this week. One is Immortal Red Sonja number 8. This is Red Sonja with the talking chainmail shirt, which is how I remember her. So that's is that the final issue, or it's close to the final issue on that series? There's only 10, so we're getting there. That book has really recently found a gear that it hadn't had in a minute. And then the other one is Vampirella Mind Warp.
Yeah, number 3.
Yes, which, remember, this is Vampirella if you're on an acid trip.
Yeah.
Super fun. Right, like
yeah.
Some time travel-y kind of stuff in it, or some flashbacky kind of stuff in it. Super fun and original concept on Vampirella that we've all been really enjoying. So even though we didn't get to read those this week for probably spam folder reasons. I just wanted to take a minute and point those out and say, make sure you check those out when you go to your local comic shop tomorrow. There are 2 other Dynamite books out, but I'm not going to mention those because
I actually got the Dynamite 10-pack on the last show with them, so that's being shipped to me. So I'll have a lot to read here, probably within the next week from their universe.
That's awesome.
I will mention one of the other Dynamite books because it's the wrap up of the Sheena Queen of the Jungle series.
Well, and that's why I really wasn't going to message it just because it's been like 5 issues since we read it. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but I didn't want to be like, there's Sheena. Didn't know it was still coming out.
Yeah.
But we really liked that when it first started too. So make sure you check that one out as well. And because we have some time, I did want to mention a couple of trade paperbacks and hardcovers that were worth picking up. Mighty Marvel Masterworks Namor the Submariner trade paperback volume 1. So this is Namor and Hulk. If you went and saw Black Panther and were into the Namor, that's a good place to jump in. And for me at least, the book I've been most looking forward to that comes out this week, and it's because I spent a lot of money to get it. Michael Moorcock's Elric box set hardcover. It's all of the Elric books in hardcovers in a box that looks really nice on the shelf.
I told you my Michael Moorcock story, right?
No.
I was at the it used to be called the San Jose Con, but it's the Silicon Valley Con. And I was set up in the author section, and I was here, and behind me was Michael Moorcock on like the next aisle over. And his line came around and then kind of swooped around in front of me too. And this very lovely lady comes walking up, looks at me and goes, "Is this the line for Moorcock?"
Oh God.
And the one last thing, and I just noticed this, they are the graphic novels, Preston, or the miniseries graphic novels. If you're looking forward to the new Batman Spawn thing that's happening, they're re-releasing the originals in a hardcover from DC.
I'm excited to get my hands on the new I Hate Fairyland run.
Oh, absolutely. But like I said, I just want to mention a few trade paperbacks that you might not hear about anywhere else. Because, I'm that kind of nerd. All right. Coming back to our list, Star Trek Resurgence #1. I will start. I know that Jay and Dan probably enjoyed this book. I will stick with my rote line of, this is the wrong star-based thing for me. It's not a war or a battle Galactica. So it was all right. It was interesting. The art was cool, but like there was nothing here that really drove my interest.
Well, surprise, Kyle. Not for me.
Hey,
I thought it was boring. There's been quite a few Star Trek books we've read that I've liked, but this just wasn't one of them. I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan. Like, I pretty much divert all questions to Sean when it comes to Star Trek. But I just couldn't get into this one. I was bored halfway through it.
This literally was done like a Star Trek show. It's your first issue, your first 15 minutes or so are trying to get into what the story is actually going to be for the episode. And that's basically what this is. And they only have one familiar character in the whole thing, and that's Leah Brahms, which anybody who hasn't watched TNG probably won't know who she is. But she basically designed the engines on the Enterprise D, is basically what she's most known for in the universe. It wasn't bad. Like I said, it's basically a setup issue. Hopefully they go somewhere in issue 2. This one definitely was not as grabbing as the other book that's out with Cisco continuing that storyline. That one is infinitely more interesting because I think I've been waiting for 20 years for that kind of story to come. That said, hopefully I'll check out issue 2. If you're a Star Trek fan and you know how the shows go as far as some of the filler episodes, that's kind of what this book will be for you. It's going to be a setup. Here's your characters, kind of here's what's going on, and then leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger going into like a commercial break. And then hopefully issue 2 picks up.
Yeah, it's kind of the encounter at Farpoint. It's that opening series. Now, supposedly this is a prequel series to an upcoming video game. So, that I'm kind of curious about that. But I was surprised. I didn't know this was coming, and it's a whole new crew.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something cool about when you meet you get a new ship and a new crew. It's like a whole chapter of Star Trek. It's kind of like, in a way, Andor for Star Wars, in that it's completely aside, and it takes place somewhere between the original series and Next Generation, because again, this is before she creates the engines for the Enterprise D. So I thought this was really interesting from that point of view, and it did feel like the first episode of a Star Trek TV show. You have a whole new cast to discover. So yeah, I found it kind of fun, and they gave us the characters pretty interesting quickly. I have a feeling the captain's not long for this world. I think we're spending more time with the first officer, so it could be one of those where the first officer takes over, and that's where things really pick up. But I liked it.
Door to Door, Night by Night, #1.
I'm just going to go ahead and say this was a book where it almost feels like Cullen is stretching himself a little thin. I mean, he has what feels like 5 or 6 books out every week. And this one was kind of a miss for me, especially the first 3/4 of the book. I was almost about ready to give up on it, and then they give you that nice little twist right there. And then I was like, all right, cool, I can finish it, but I don't know if I really want to check out the second issue. And a lot of that is because visually for me, I was just not into the art at all. So this one for me was a miss.
I gotta agree with you. I had a hard time with the art and just couldn't get into the story. I actually started reading it, stopped, and forgot about it for a while. And then just before the show started, I went, oh, wait, I didn't finish that one. Because it just wasn't catching me. It's just, sometimes Cullen Bunn just hits it, like the stuff he's doing over at Valiant with Shadow Man, some of the other, but this, nah, I could pass on this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of also in the same boat. Now, near the end, it does kind of pick up, and it kind of feels like a comedy of errors at that point. And Cullen Bunn is a great writer. Don't get me wrong; he's written some of my favorite Deadpool books. But he's also everywhere, which that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it feels like, and I know this happens to a lot of writers when they're writing a lot of stories, some books are going to be stronger than others. And comparatively to something else that we've read that he's done, this was definitely a weak story to me. We'll just have to see how the next issue goes.
So I don't mind being the odd man out on this one, but I'm going to say this. Overwhelmingly, the emotion that most came to me with the books this week was, whatever. Right? There was nothing this week that really tripped my trigger in any kind of way. So to say that I liked this one is to say that I like vanilla ice cream. Well, yeah, it's still ice cream. Like, you ever had bad vanilla ice cream? Book wasn't great, wasn't special, but it was okay. It was fine. I felt like this was a setup for if a Buffy the Vampire Slayer type character was in her 40s with a divorce and some trauma and is just kind of in a different spot, this is how you would introduce them. Which I thought was okay, that's fine. And I like the idea of this incredibly diverse group of people who are all thrust into this setting. But like the plot was a little thin. The character development was a little all over the place. There was a nice twist at the end that kind of pulled it all together, and we'll see where it goes from there. I enjoyed the book. I liked the concept, but it wasn't write home and tell your parents about, kind of good. So,
yeah.
And can we stop doing giant titles? We're not paying people by the letter here.
Except for the letterers.
Well, yeah. No, they're by the page.
Door night to door night.
Right.
Yeah.
At least can we hire a better designer on the title? Yes. I'll give you that. All right. So we actually had 2 books. Again, these are Cullen Bunn. These are at Mad Cave. Legacy of Violence 1 and 2. Only number 2 is out this week, but we just got numbers 1 and 2 for a review. So I read both of them. I don't know if everybody else did or not.
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. And
I would like my time back.
Aw.
See, number 1 was kind of like that for me, where the story was so unbelievably chaotic and all over the place. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to read issue 2, and then I did, and I'm glad that I did. I'm really wondering what is going on with the main character, Dr. Shaw. What is his connection to what's going on? Because it seems to happen everywhere he's at with the violence and everything. And then I'm not going to lie, the scene out in front of the bar, that panel with everything on the hood of the car and that actually, if I was legit eating something at that point, I might have lost my lunch. That was actually gruesomely awesome. Like, that was worth the book alone for me. So I am intrigued to read issue 3 solely on what issue 2 gave me.
I feel like it's setting something up, something specific. And it's kind of ironic because if it does the one thing I'm expecting it to do, or if it doesn't do that, then I don't see any reason for this book. And if it does do that, I don't care enough about the characters at this point to be bothered by it. So it's just not clicking for me,
Well, that's understandable. I mean, Dan, you're a writer, so like I've said before, you see stuff differently than I'm going to see it, or Sean's going to see it, or Kyle sees it. Though I totally appreciate your opinion, I value your opinion a whole lot as a writer. To me, though, I think this was like the best Cullen Bunn book I've read in a while. Maybe it's because I think he's a lot better at the horror stuff than he has been on some of the other books we've read recently. The ending to issue 2 was just wow. And it wasn't just the fact of what happens on the car. It's when said person steps out of the car that really just like hammers that home. Okay, we're that kind of book. We're going to be that kind of book. Okay. I thought it was creepy. I thought it was awesome, and I'm here for it. I'm hoping, though, I am hoping, though, that it gets better.
Yeah.
I hope it gets better.
So in the solicitation, there's a reference to Unit 731, which is a through line through both books. I would have liked to have some more indication as to what that is by the end of issue 2.
Yeah.
Instead of just another little Easter eggy reference to it. Right? There's a twist at the end that you're like, oh, okay. I see, we're going to tie it together again. But I'm with Jay on this, is that I think this is Cullen Bunn writing something that's a little bit even violent for his normal level of violence. That's bloody even for his normal level of blood. It reminds me a little bit of Ed Pisker's Red Room.
Oh wow.
Hey, just know we're not going to pull any punches kind of. We're not going to obfuscate or walk around the potential for making you uncomfortable, making your stomach churn, making you not want to eat lunch while reading this book. Which I think is good. I think it needs to pace faster. It needs to tell you why you care about the people that you're supposed to care about, and it needs to have done it already.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's something that you can compensate for if you do it very quickly in issue 3 and kind of get back to where we're heading. But that's it just needs to happen really, really quickly, I think. So
I got one question before we go on to the next book, because I got a question for Dan.
All right.
Dan, would you ever write a book like this? Or have you written a book like this before?
A particularly violent book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have?
Uh-huh.
Can you tell me what it is?
What
so
is 30 Days of Night if not a little bit violent?
Okay. Okay, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I started off in horror, actually.
I forgot about 30 Days of Night.
Yeah, I did a lot of horror in the beginning. Savage, 30 Days of Night, some of the first Grimm fairy tales I did. The Three Blind Mice episode is particularly gruesome.
Oh, that was you. Light bulb just went off in my head with that. would you ever return to do would you ever write something like that again?
Yeah. See, I never considered myself, bottom line, I consider myself a mystery writer, but if you want me to go horror, I can still put a mystery wrapped around horror, or romance or whatever, So yeah, I love having different challenges like that.
Somebody get Dan to do that, because now I want to read something new by Dan. Somebody do that for me. Okay, we can move on now. I totally forgot about that one. So,
all right, last book up, Census number 3.
I'm going to start on this one. I've enjoyed this book. The first 2 episodes were really interesting. This one felt a little different to me. I still liked it, but he started feeling a little too smooth. It's like it felt like we were missing an issue. He was bumbling through the first 2 issues, and suddenly now he's tricking this person and solving this problem. And I kind of thought we were doing a story arc with the girl that he meets in the first one. And we do get back to that at the end. But this just kind of felt like a filler issue. Like, is this a long series that I didn't realize? It didn't feel like this was part of I don't know. It just felt like this was kind of out of place. Like, we jumped a bunch. He's much better at his job. That, it just seemed kind of weird to me. So yeah. I still liked it. I liked the character. I liked the concept. Yeah.
The comparison I was going to make is it's like we have Agent J from the first Men in Black movie. For the first 2 issues where he's still trying to figure it out, and Tommy Lee Jones is still there kind of explaining to him how to do his job, and all he has is the noisy cricket. And then all of a sudden he's Agent J in the 3rd Men in Black movie, where he's smooth and he knows all the tricks.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you need that second movie. Where you're still bumbly, but you're better.
Yeah.
Did he wear a suit in the other issues?
Nope.
No.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll just finish my little line on this is this book features the Baba Yaga, which is a great mythological creature, mythological story. and just kind of skims it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if this whole thing is going to be summed up in a Wikipedia post, why do I care?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we inadvertently put cannibalism in this issue. Will you notice?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Because our main character seems to be disturbed by it and then goes back and has more.
So this was the first thing I'd read of the series. So obviously there is a lot from the first 2 issues I'm guessing that I have missed. When I got done reading this, since I was a little bit lost, I went back and read the solicitation, and then the issue at least made sense from that point. I do like a little bit of the lightheartedness on it, despite the fact that they bring Baba Yaga in here and they have the cannibalism thing going on. It's weird how not really weird, but how he handles everything with it seems like a nonchalant attitude is how he does everything. I think that's what makes it interesting. It's almost like he's aloof to what's really going on. And so I'm wondering if the story is actually going to go somewhere within the next issue or 2 at this point.
Yeah, he hasn't earned that aloofness yet.
Yeah.
Because he definitely didn't have it in the previous issues.
That's like when I saw the suit, I was like, did we time jump? Did we miss an issue? And like he was doing some smart things.
Mm-hmm.
I like the story. This it has kind of like a Law and Order feel to it, as in like he meets, like in the second issue it was leprechauns, but then there was another story in there. This one was who he tricks first, and then right after that, then we're on to 2 other mythical creatures. They get that first part taken care of quickly, then here's the meat of the story. And I still haven't read the first issue. But I'm wondering if did it do something like that as well, or was that more of a he got the job, they're setting it up kind of thing? Because is this like an ongoing thing where he takes care of one problem in the first like page of the book, and then the rest of the book is him taking care of like a main issue, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like I'm a fan of the story either way. It's genuinely funny to me, and I have a good time every time I read it. So,
All right.
Well,
In that case, this has been in stores this week. Head over to your local comic shop. If you don't know where your local comic shop is, comicshoplocator.com. Type in the zip code of the area where you are, and it will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. Sean doesn't have any Tuesdays off until December, so he won't be with us for a while.
Aww.
yeah.
I mean, he might be in the comments getting made fun of for not being here, but
Unfortunately, yeah, it'll be just the 13-hour shifts for the next month or so.
What we should do is have him pick one book, let him read it, and record his review of that book and Sean's pick.
yes.
And just have it pop up during the show.
we can do that if Sean's willing. But we'll work that out after the show.
Thank you, John.
Yes. So, Sean and Jay, what's coming out from Triangle of Truth? Anything interesting we need to know about and point people over to Triangle of Truth?
Got some unboxings. Got some unboxings from Kickstarter.
I'm sorting out what is basically for me is going to be my best of list for the year. I don't see too much coming up in the next couple of months, so I've kind of got the list finalized. So I'll probably try to record that and put it out sometime in early or mid-December. And whatnot.
Then Dan will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific for the Dan Wickline Show.
Yes. And
what topic am I going to distract you from tomorrow?
I don't know yet. I was hoping the news would tell me something.
And then Thursday, he will also likely have a show.
Gears of War movie.
Thursday will be Andor.
Thursday will be Andor.
Gears of War movie.
Thursday is Andor and Quantum Leap, so we got that one.
Cool. And then I will be back on Friday for the members only hangout with Miss Jen. If you're not a member of the experience on YouTube, you should be a member of the experience on YouTube so you can watch stuff like that. But I'll also be here with Nick on Friday for the original art experience where we talk about art. And
I was going to remind folks that tomorrow during Comics Collectibles, there's going to be 4 special books that are going to be offered up with all proceeds going to the widow of Drew Ford, the publisher of It's Alive Comics and writer. He passed away last month from complications from COVID, and they're raising money to help his wife. And there's going to be 4 books, including Dunkirk from the Pages of Combat, which is signed by Walt Simonson. Weird Tales, Amazing, or Weird. I have the list. There's 4 books is the important thing. That's signed by Dave Dorman. There's Star Wars Dynamic Forces special cover, the first issue. And there's one of the TMNT homage covers for Army of Darkness 1973 that's redrawn and marked by Ken Hazer. All of them are going to be offered up at best offer. So, and all the proceeds are going to go to help Kiki Ford. So if you get a chance to watch tomorrow, they're also going to be doing a giveaway of a CGC graded book. So check out the show tomorrow for that. That's after my show tomorrow afternoon with Rex and John on Comics Collectibles.
Nice.
Awesome. And then if you're bored, comicshoppingexperience.com. Check out the new website. I'm literally going to go back and be working on it some more. It's live, but I'm going to add more bells and whistles.
Speaking of, I noticed the merch store that you've got up.
Oh, yeah. On the YouTube.
I'll talk about that. Yep. I definitely people should check that out if you want shirts, hoodies, any other cool stuff, because I know I'm going to get some stuff.
I will tell you, no one has yet ordered from our merch store. We've had it for a few months, and no one has yet ordered from it.
I will.
The only reason I know that is because I went on there to order and realized that I had forgot to set up how you could pay.
Oops.
You've only been able to pay for stuff from our merch store for about a week.
Okay.
I didn't know.
I don't feel bad now because I noticed it last week.
Yeah,
I noticed it like Friday, and I'm like,
fixed.
Yeah.
My
So
scarves will not be available on the merch store. I'm sorry.
No, but you can get a tie-dye shirt with the Experience logo on it.
Can we get hats?
There are hats.
Because this group seems to like hats.
Yes, there are hats. I almost ordered one, but it wouldn't have, again, I couldn't pay for it. So
Couldn't remember. I forget. Are the hats like stretch fit or are they snapback?
I have both. Plus, I have the canvas military style hat, and coming soon Kango style hats.
Yes, Jeff Wedding
Abby
hats.
hat. Yeah, we're gonna call it the Dan Wickline.
Yeah.
And I have some other designs and stuff that are going up on there here in the near future. Building it out, but I needed to get the new website going so we can link to all the things. It's
Fair enough. But
Cool. Feel free to laugh.
Kermit arms,
Yeah.
right?
People like the subscribe buttons and all those things that we're supposed to ask for.
Woo! All right, we'll see everybody later on in the week. Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.